Late one evening, Sarah, a brave woman from the city, found herself alone at an ATM. She had just finished a long day at work and was heading home, eager to get some rest. The night was chilly, and the streets were relatively empty. As she approached the machine, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Little did she know, her loyal companion, Whiskers, a sleek black cat, was always by her side, ready to protect her from any danger. Whiskers, a small yet fiercely intelligent cat, had been her companion for over 2 years. She trusted him with her life, and he had always proven that his loyalty was unmatched. As Sarah inserted her card into the ATM, a man appeared from the shadows. His face was partially hidden by a hood, and his eyes gleamed with a menacing intent. Sarah didn't notice him at first, focused on her transaction, but Whiskers did. The cat's eyes narrowed, and his tail flicked with tension. Sarah had learned to trust Whiskers' instincts over the years, but even she was unprepared for the events that would unfold in the next few minutes. The man approached quickly, his movements deliberate. "Give me your money," he growled, his voice low and threatening. Sarah froze for a moment, her heart racing. She hadn't expected this, but her mind raced, and she instantly knew what she had to do. However, before she could react, the man reached out, grabbing her by the arm. He tried to pull her away from the machine, but Sarah's grip on the ATM was firm. She wasn't going to let go easily. Whiskers' growl was the first warning the man received. The deep rumbling noise came from the small cat, who had puffed up his chest and bared his teeth. The thief, startled, turned to see the black cat staring at him with unwavering focus. But instead of backing down, he sneered. "A cat? What's it going to do?" he scoffed, but his voice trembled slightly. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, and she could feel the tension in the air. She knew she had to act fast. "Whiskers, stay," she commanded in a firm voice. But Whiskers was already in motion. In an instant, Whiskers launched himself at the thief with surprising speed. His claws extended, swiping at the man's leg. The thief stumbled back, shocked by the cat's swift movement. Whiskers didn't bite, he wasn't trained to attack without command. But his presence alone, coupled with his sudden ferocity, was enough to make the thief's blood run cold. The man took a step back, his hands trembling as he looked between Sarah and the cat. "You think you can scare me with a cat?" the thief spat, but his confidence was quickly fading. He had underestimated both Sarah and Whiskers. The thief tried to grab a nearby stick, but before he could even raise it, Whiskers let out an aggressive hiss, his ears flattened against his head. It was a warning. One that the thief ignored. Big mistake. With a sudden surge of energy, Whiskers advanced again, his small yet agile body blocking the man's escape route. The thief, now panicked, looked around for an exit, but the night seemed to close in on him. He had nowhere to run, and the fear in his eyes was evident. Whiskers wasn't just a cat, he was a protector, and the thief now understood that all too well. The man, realizing the severity of his situation, dropped the stick and held up his hands in surrender. His body was trembling, and sweat dripped down his forehead. He had never imagined that a robbery would end like this, facing down an angry, determined cat that was more than ready to defend his owner. I didn't mean it," the thief stammered, his voice filled with desperation. "Please, just let me go." Sarah stepped forward, her eyes locked on the man's face. She could see the fear in his eyes, and for a moment, she felt a twinge of pity. But then she remembered the grip he had on her arm, the way he had tried to pull her away from the machine. She wasn't about to let him off easy. "You chose the wrong person to mess with," she said firmly. "Whiskers, heel." The cat immediately obeyed, stepping back and standing at attention beside her. Whiskers' powerful presence was enough to make the thief realize that escape was no longer an option. Sarah took a step closer to the thief, who was now on his knees, his face red with shame and fear. "I'll call the police," Sarah said, her voice steady. The thief didn't argue. He didn't have the strength to. As Sarah waited for the authorities to arrive, she kept her gaze on the thief, making sure he didn't try to flee. Whiskers stood proudly by her side, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. When the police finally arrived, they were surprised to find a thief who was so shaken. They quickly arrested him, and Sarah gave her statement, still in disbelief at how quickly everything had escalated. The thief, now handcuffed, looked up at Sarah and Whiskers one last time before being led away. "I didn't know. I didn't know about the cat," he muttered. But it was too late. He had learned the hard way that underestimating a cat like Whiskers was a dangerous mistake. As Sarah and Whiskers walked away from the scene, she felt a sense of pride. Whiskers had protected her, as he always did. But this time, his presence had done more than just scare off a threat. It had saved her life. The night ended with Sarah safely back at her apartment, reflecting on what had just happened. The events had shaken her, but they had also reaffirmed her bond with Whiskers. She knew that no matter what life threw her way, she would always have him by her side. And that was a comfort she would never take for granted.